This is my 2011 Volkswagen Golf. It's a TDI, and I'm going to explain to you why I think this is the best econo-box commuter car that Volkswagen or any manufacturer has probably ever made. So it does not have the diesel exhaust fluid system like the newer ones have that started in 2015, but it does have a DPF, which I believe started in 2010. So the Mark 6 generation came to the United States from 2010 to 2014, and in my opinion, it's one of the best made Volkswagen platforms. They really did well with this entire platform, even the Jettas. This whole era of Volkswagen, in my opinion, was very good. I've owned 5 of them. This is my 5th one. Aside from that, I have driven Mark 3s, Mark 4s, Mark 5s, and some Mark 7s. If I had a choice, I would probably own a early Mark 7. I really enjoy the newer look with the fit and finish that these had. It kind of carried over into the early Mark 7s. In my opinion, that's probably the best one. But it's very hard to find a 2015 Mark 7 TDI. Because of the Dieselgate scandal, they're few and far between. So when I was looking for commuter cars, Mark 6 TDI was the easiest I could find, and I've come to really love it. And today I'm going to be explaining that to you. People might know, you can no longer buy the Volkswagen diesels in the United States. This happened shortly after I got rid of my first TDI, so I didn't follow it too closely. But from what I gather, around the end of 2014 or 2015, somebody in the EPA decided that they needed to test the Volkswagen computer system emission stuff, and basically discovered that Volkswagen's emission system would engage during a plugged-in test and create a false passing parameter that actually resulted in about 40% more emissions being emitted during like a drive instead of like just a plug-in test. So it became a really big deal. It ended up affecting something like 11 million cars, and I believe costed Volkswagen over $33 billion between EPA fees and the buyback that they did, and as well as the recall that they put out to fix the cars. So there was a period of time where I remember seeing of TDI cars being put into fields or abandoned lots, and they were just filling up. Eventually, Volkswagen figured out a fix that the EPA would approve, and they submitted a recall and basically fixed the cars, which resulted in supposedly, a decrease in fuel efficiency, as well as extending the emission warranty 50,000 miles from the recall date. So for mine, my extended warranty is good until November of 2023. A week after I got this car, they had to put a new DPF in, completely covered under the warranty. It's sad because there are no new model Volkswagen diesels, and I think that they would really be competitive in today's fuel economy wars that are going on. From what I read, there's actually a lot of issues with Fiat, who else? Volvo, maybe some Mercedes issues. They all had the same issues going on, kind of spoofing the emissions tests, but Volkswagen, I guess, was caught first, and Volkswagen was hit hardest. So in my opinion, Volkswagen did right by the customers, but a lot of people were burned by the deceitfulness of the company. And if I remember correctly, their stock dropped by 2/3 in a very short period of time. So Volkswagen had a lot of fixing to do, and I think that's why we started to see quality decrease in the most recent years. To me, the newer, I guess you would call them Mark 7.5s, they don't feel the way that these feel. And these are very solid cars for what you pay for them, and what you pay for them now and what you paid for them new. So that brings us to today. This is a 2011, so it's coming up on 10 years old. I was looking for a commuter car because I moved out into the country and I have to drive 30 minutes to get anywhere. And I started shopping Volkswagen 2.5 liter 5-cylinders just because I like the way they sound, and eventually landed on TDI. And this would be the second TDI that I've owned. I also had a 2013 TDI back in 2013. After the Dieselgate fix, I think this is one of the best cars that you could buy for the money. I ended up paying $12,000 for it, give or take, and I think it had 65,000 miles on it. When this car was new, it would cost you somewhere around $24,000. And to me, to get a comparable Civic or something like that, you would pay about the same, and in my opinion, you would get a lot less. This car, for whatever reason, is well equipped, even though it has cloth seats. It has a sunroof, it has heated cloth seats. The seats have very good bolsters in them for being base model seats. It has the premium touchscreen radio and the Dyne audio system, and to me it's adequate. I don't want for anything else. Compared to a similarly priced Civic, for example, you get 140 horsepower and probably about 7 torque. And we're talking 2011, obviously. So this car has 140 horsepower and 236 pound-feet of torque at 1,700 RPM. It's not fast. There's nothing about this car that's fast. I actually make jokes that this car is so slow, I can put it in second, floor it, and by the time I need to shift again, I could have taken a sip of my water, changed the radio 2 or 3 times, and then shift into third. And then between third and fourth, I could take a nap. So definitely not a fast car, not intended to be, but really it does well. And it's not an incredibly fun car to drive, but it does its job. And when I was looking for an appliance. I was looking for something that just drives and gets good gas mileage. I probably could have bought a more fun car, but this car does average, and I drive like a teenager most of the time, 37 miles per gallon. On longer highway trips, I've seen 46 to 48 miles per gallon. And, that's basically hybrid territory on the highway. And you know, I've got a fuel range of about 500 miles to a normal tank, and on the highway I've seen 630 miles to a tank, which I think is incredible for a cheap car. So you can't beat it. And Honda Civics of the time, if you can find one that still has the paint on it, they only get 28 to 32 miles per gallon on the highway only, which for similar money you can do a lot better. Nothing is perfect, and I understand the reliability question on cars like these. European cars in general have been known to be less reliable than the Japanese counterparts, and that's probably true. But I have all the service records for this car, and since I've owned it, I've put about 15,000 miles on it, and I've only had to change one sensor. It was an exhaust gas temperature sensor, and it took me about an hour in the garage with a $60 part from the dealer. Not a bad job. To me, it's not much more difficult than working on any other engine. With that being said, the equivalent Civic in 2011 had a lot of engine issues where I think they were having cracked blocks and coolant passageways just started erupting, and nothing's perfect. I bought this car as an appliance, not as some fun race car, because it's never going to be that. I can't think of another vehicle where I can drive 600 miles for $32 that would still give me a little bit of satisfaction when I drive it. Again, not a fast car, but the torque is nice. Cars are going to be a value for a few years to come. So if you could get your hands on a fixed TDI to play with or even test drive, I'd highly recommend it.